Seed oils are everywhere, but are they behind the chronic disease epidemic? So, what if the heart healthy oils you're using are silently damaging your cells? Seed oils are everywhere, but are they behind the chronic disease epidemic? Welcome back to the Obesity Project. Today, episode 26, Seed Oils, the Silent Saboteurs of Your Health. I'm Dr. Mark Shankman, an oral and maxillofacial surgeon that decided to take on the medical industry, the food industry, and really go out there and try to spread the proper information. I realized a while back that most of what people are recommending is not based on science, but based purely on speculation and correlational studies, which are essentially useless. So, thank you for joining me today. We're going to go over these sort of vegetable oils or seed oils. So, let's dive right in. Industrial oils are extracted from seeds, things like soybean and corn, sunflower, canola, cottonseed, safflower, grapeseed. All of these seeds are processed to create these oils. So they're also called vegetable oils, despite not coming from vegetables. I think the biggest reason they're considered vegetable oils is because of the corn oil that you can see behind me. But these are actually all extracted from seeds. And they're highly refined, chemically processed. They go through processes of like solvent extraction, high heat, bleaching, deodorizing. So all of these things that change the structure and are not terribly useful in terms of our diet or our health. These were introduced back in the early 1900s and ramped up post World War II as alternatives to animal fat. So things like lard and beef tallow and chicken fat, all these things, they became the sort of quote unquote healthy alternatives. So let's talk about what's actually in these seed oils, the composition of the seed oil. So these are extremely high in omega 6s. These are polyunsaturated fats, or what most people call PUFAs. It's a funny name, makes me laugh every time I hear it. But the omega 6s are not terribly healthy. The omega 3s, the fish oils that do promote cardiac and cardiovascular health are the good ones. The omega 6s are sort of the bad ones. And the main culprit or the main fat in omega 6 polyunsaturated fats, the PUFAs, is linoleic acid. So the problem with linoleic acid is it's very unstable. It has these unsaturated or double bonds that make the structure of the molecule sort of crinkled and bent. And these are easily oxidized when they're heated, forming very toxic aldehydes. Now, you may notice that aldehyde sounds very familiar to another word we may have heard of, and that's formaldehyde. So, formaldehyde is a preservative, it's an embalming fluid to preserve. We're getting these toxic aldehydes in this linoleic acid, in these polyunsaturated fats. And PUFAs are incorporated into cell membranes and mitochondrial membranes. And you may remember the mitochondria is the powerhouse, the battery pack of the cell, and the cell membrane holds everything together. So if we incorporate these PUFAs into the cell membranes, into the mitochondrial membranes, this then makes them fragile and then prone to oxidative damage, which is very, very dangerous for our cells and for our bodies. And like I said, it's really important for me to share some statistics and some studies with you to allow you to do your own research and also to prove that what I'm saying is not something I just came up with out of thin air. There was a study by Ramsden et al. In BMJ 2013. And what they did is they replaced saturated fat with linoleic acid, the main omega 6 polyunsaturated fat. And this showed an increase in death rates in randomized trials. So this is something that absolutely is not healthy for you, and we need to eliminate from our diets. So let's talk about how those seed oils become toxic in the body. We kind of touched on it with the cell membranes and the mitochondrial membranes, but when we heat these seed oils, and then what happens when we digest them is these PUFAs oxidize into lipid peroxides and aldehydes. The aldehydes are already mentioned. So things like 4-HNE and something called MDA. These compounds both damage proteins, DNA, and mitochondria, which are all essential things that we cannot afford to have damaged. And they cause inflammation, atherosclerosis, and neurodegeneration. These seed oils suppress metabolism and also contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction. And I'm here to tell you mitochondrial dysfunction is the main player when it comes to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes and all the chronic disorders are all based on a single sort of commonality, and that's mitochondrial dysfunction. So it is extremely important. As we age, our mitochondria don't work as well. If we want to age healthily, or maybe not a great term, but if we want to age gracefully and we want to remain active and we want to have good energy and we want to remain mobile, we need to have good functioning mitochondria. And it was a study that demonstrated this where it was a group called the leading investigator was Spitaler. Back in 2005, it showed that oxidative products from linoleic acid were linked to chronic diseases, including things like cancer, Alzheimer's, and cardiovascular heart disease. So these seed oils have many impacts on our human health. Things like obesity. So linoleic acid does lower energy expenditure and increases appetite. And then this linoleic acid is actually stored preferentially in adipose tissue or fat tissue. And if we're trying to lose weight because of obesity, this is going to counter those efforts. It does have effects on insulin resistance. It does damage the mitochondria, as I mentioned, which is kind of the sole sort of common ground on insulin resistance and chronic disease. And it does disrupt glucose metabolism and prevent the normal breakdown of glucose into energy. It does have an effect on inflammation. It promotes systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of the leading causes of inflammation and cardiovascular disease, creating these atherosclerotic plaques and not demonizing the LDL, which we'll get to in future videos. And it also does have some effort or effect, I mean, on brain health. So it has been linked to cognitive decline and depression. So we need to eliminate linoleic acid from our diets in these seed oils. There was a study by, I'm going to butcher the name, I apologize for that, Dinicolantonio and Dinicolantonio et al. In Open Heart in 2020 that showed that linoleic acid is directly impacted in obesity and in metabolic syndrome. Okay, so let's talk about some consumption trends and correlation with disease. In the United States, omega-6 intake rose from only 2% of calories in 1900 to now well over 10% today. And along with those parallels in consumption, we see rises in obesity. The CDC reports about 42% of all US adults are now obese. We see rises in type 2 diabetes along with the rise in these omega-6s. And about 1 in 10 Americans now have type 2 diabetes. And heart disease, of course, as a leading cause of death. So we've seen with the correlation of increased consumption of these omega-6s and these seed oils, we've seen corresponding parallel and rise of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Now, we also find that countries with higher seed oil intake mirror these same patterns. So if low seed oil intake in a specific country, we don't see the rise in these three problems. Yet in countries with high seed oil intake, so most of the Western developed countries, we see mirroring of these same patterns. There was a study in the Journal of Circulation in 2010 by Mozaffarian et al. They showed that high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio correlates with an increased risk of chronic disease. So this is sort of the bad compared to the good type of fat. Um, so omega-6 bad, omega-3 is good. We'll get into omega-3s a little bit in a future episode as well. So, what should we use instead of using these oils you see behind me? So we want to use things like stable fats. We want to use things, those stable fats are things like tallow and butter, ghee, coconut oil. So saturated fats have been vilified by the food pyramid, the standard guidelines put out by the US government back in the late 70s. Really got us away from the fats that were actually healthy for us and good. And but saturated fats have low oxidation potential, so they don't oxidize like these seed oils and turn into these aldehydes and other toxic chemicals. So stable fats are one category we can use. We can also use things like cold pressed olive oil. Now, olive oil should be used at room temperature. These do have a lower smoking point and they can be oxidized at higher levels. So for olive oil, you really want to stick primarily to that olive oil at room temperature. And then we want to use things like avocado oil, stable but a little bit expensive, and you want to make sure you check for purity. But avocado oil does have some definite advantages and some benefits. It's the good kind or healthy kind of fat. So you also want to always avoid deep frying in seed oils or reheating them because, as we mentioned, that provides the energy, the heat, the energy to begin the oxidation process and break down these PUFAs into their toxic byproducts. So you also have to be a little bit careful, a little bit weary because there are some hidden sources of seed oil. So sometimes it's very hard to kind of figure out where these are coming from. So fast food, restaurant cooking oils are they're primarily seed oils. And so you need to check out and ask these fast food restaurants or check the labels if there are some like menu items that say what kind of oil they cook with. But you can certainly ask in a restaurant. You've got to watch salad dressings, mayonnaise, chips, crackers, granola bars. All of these things have these hidden seed oils in them, built into them. And, even many things that are claimed to be healthy packaged foods have these products in them. And you have, much like sugar, where the sugar is put into the processed foods and not labeled sugar, it may be labeled dextrose or it may be labeled, high fructose corn syrup or, any of these other things. You also have to check the labels and look for these hidden sort of words that signify seed oils, such as vegetable oil or soy oil, canola oil or sunflower oil. These are all bad. These are all the PUFAs, these omega-6s that we want to avoid. So you got to check the labels and you make sure that what you're eating actually has the type of healthy fats that you're looking for. So let me give you four simple and practical recommendations. One, avoid seed oils in your own cooking. Use animal fats or coconut oil or avocado oil, these sort of things that we just mentioned. So avoid using seed oils in cooking. Actually, avoid seed oils in general, but definitely in cooking because that creates the oxidation. You want to eliminate packaged and fried foods which contain vegetable oils in them. And you want to focus on whole, minimally processed foods. Look, that's just a general sweeping statement that you're going to hear across all of my videos, no matter whether you're worried about seed oils, whether you're worried about sugar, whether you're worried about carbohydrates or insulin resistance, always, always, always look for whole foods, real foods, right? Real foods don't have labels on them. If it's a real food, it doesn't need a label. If it's got a label on it, it's been processed, it's been refined, and it's been modified. Now it needs a label. So if it has a label on it, you want to check that label and make sure that none of these things are hidden in them. But focus on whole, uh, minimally processed, minimally refined foods. So that's item number three. So avoid seed oils in cooking is one. Two, eliminate packaged and fried foods that contain vegetable oils. Three, focus on whole, minimally processed foods. And then four, you want to look for cold pressed or extra virgin when choosing olive oils. Very important to get the best, healthiest, least processed oil. So, in summary, seed oils are a modern industrial product. They are not natural. These are not natural products. Just because it came from corn doesn't mean it's natural. It's been processed and run through so many chemicals and so much processing that it's not a natural oil. They damage your cells, they damage your mitochondria, and they damage your hormones. All of these things, these are effects we want to avoid at all costs. And we want to replace seed oils with healthy fats that can reduce inflammation and support our weight loss goals. So, are seed oils hiding back in your pantry? Make sure to check the label and let me know what you find in the comments. Also, check the items in your pantry and check those labels because they absolutely can be hidden. So, you can't just kind of look and see if there's seed oils in there. You got to check those labels and you got to make sure. So, let me know in the comments below what you found, what was sneaky, where you'd least expected to see those seed oils hidden away. And of course, share this with someone who still believes that canola oil is healthy. It may have the heart healthy, symbol on it, but we now know that this is not a heart healthy product. We now know that canola oil and all of these other vegetable or seed oils are absolutely toxic and should be avoided at all costs. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I hope you learned a little something. If you did, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow, make sure to like, share, comment, do all those things on no matter what social media platform you're watching this on. And I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching.